Waiting for Donald Trump to speak as his lawyers battled to get the case dismissed. And after the jury got sent home for the day in his hush money trial, it comes as they finally found a crime in the whole thing. But it's not the orange guy. It's the so-called fixer. The prosecution resting its case after their star witness imploded. Michael Cohen admitting he stole tens of thousands of dollars from Trump. Crooked Cohen says he only did it as a form of self-help. Well, he did help himself because he got screwed over on a bonus. And after letting Stormy get away with tawdry testimony about condoms and a magazine spanking, the judge actually reprimanded Trump's first witness, Robert Costello, for rolling his eyes, dramatically clearing out the courtroom to lecture him about decorum. Costello says that Cohen repeatedly told him that he had nothing on the Don and that Trump didn't know about the hush money payments. The ex-pres popping off earlier.
I'm here instead of campaigning. I was supposed to be making a speech for political purposes. I'm not allowed to have anything to do with politics because I'm sitting in a very freezing cold courtroom for the last 4 weeks. It's very unfair.
Cohen's crime confession getting the media all hot and bothered.
Kind of reeling from the revelation that Michael Cohen stole money from the Trump organization. That was just kind of stunning.
This has given such ammunition as to possibly fatally undermine the prosecution's case.
There's an argument to be made that actually you're just an opportunistic thief. I think has moved Michael Cohen from this figure where he's part Tom Hagen from The Godfather, but really more like Fredo Corleone, to now this guy who's just a thief.
Stealing $60,000 through fraud, which would be larceny in New York State, is more serious of a crime than falsifying business records.
But leave it to Lawrence for going the extra mile to spin the Cohen crime bombshell.
He asked about the $50,000 that's irrelevant to the $130,000, and that's where he very effectively got Michael Cohen to agree that, yes, he stole $30,000. Later, when Cohen was asked about that on redirect by the prosecution, it didn't really sound like stealing $30,000. It sounded a lot like Michael Cohen doing the little that he could within that calculation to rebalance the bonus he thought he deserved, and it still came out as less than the bonus he thought he deserved and the bonus he'd gotten the year before.
There you go. Judge, they act like this is stunning. Cohen's a perjurer, a fraudster, a tax chief, but he was still their star witness. And now they say this, yet again, undermines their case. The whole case undermined the case because it was based on him. How can this be stunning?
Well, it's stunning because they have a political agenda. But I have always said that Michael Cohen is the linchpin of this case. The linchpin of this case has been attacked, and his credibility is totally destroyed. I mean, today everybody was blown away when he admitted, yeah, I stole $60,000. He should be indicted for grand larceny. And the amazing thing is the Southern District knew about it. The Cy Vance, the DA in Manhattan, knew about it. Alvin Bragg knew about it before the statute of limitations ran. But instead, what they do is they catapult him to the centerpiece of the corruption that Donald Trump is engaged in. Look, the bottom line here is that Michael Cohen pretty much canceled himself out. But the defense made a decision. We're going to call Costello. People will criticize it. I contend it was the right decision to make. Cohen is the most credible witness I have heard so far in this case. But this goes to the issue of the judge and the important role that a judge plays in each and every other case. A judge doesn't just decide, is this evidence going to be admitted? Will I allow it or not allow it? Will I charge this? Will I charge that? The judge sets the tone of the room. And this judge is so corrupt. He should have recused himself. I'm not going to go through it again, but the prosecution knew he was on their side. Every time Costello tried to talk, the prosecution objected, interrupting the story so that there is no coherent story in front of the jury, to the point where Costello goes, and this guy Costello is well respected in New York. He goes, geez, and the judge flips out. The judge doesn't just say, you know, keep your client under control. He sends the jury out. He clears the courtroom and starts screaming, keep this guy in line. I'm not going to take this anymore. And he admonishes him as soon as he takes the stand and then rips him apart. However, he gets in this adult porn star who does you know what for a living, and he lets her talk about everything from, you know, how brief the encounter was to whether or not he used a condom and all this other nonsense. This jury now knows, as a result of the way he's handling Costello, the defense's first witness, that this judge is not on the level. And for those people who say it wasn't worth it calling Costello, the signal sent to this jury is that this judge is definitely not on the level, and that Michael Cohen, who went from, I got nothing to give the prosecution, nothing to give them, about to kill himself, has had a lobotomy, because now, you know, in spite of the fact that the president listened to everything he said, and in spite of the fact that he's a serial liar, stole and surreptitiously recorded him, Michael Cohen is not to be believed.
So, Harold, I guess the judge was upset that Costello rolled his eyes. Is the judge married to him?
So it's good to be back with you. Hope everybody had a good weekend.
I had a great weekend. Thanks for asking.
The Knicks loss was a little tough, but otherwise I was good. Couple of things. I differ with the judge in one regard. I think you have to respect the courtroom and have to respect the judge. The judge and I were chatting a little bit off air. I think if a witness were to have done this in the judge's courtroom, I think the judge may have disagreed, but I know you and I love you. I think you would want control of your courtroom. You may not have been as sensitive as this judge may have been, but we're not in that courtroom to know all that's happening. But when a witness disrespects a judge, or witness disrespects a courtroom, I think any judge, I don't care whom they're appointed by or where the courtroom is, should admonish that.
And very quickly, I'll just say this.
Okay.
Let me just say, sometimes you let the witness hang themselves, so you let it go.
But that's not the judge's role.
That's what Hillary did.
That's not the judge's role. The judge is to keep his courtroom or her courtroom in order. And Robert Costello is a lawyer. He's an officer of the court and should know that. Two, I agree with you. I think the young fellow from CNN, I think it was CNN, who said that, let us know that it's grand larceny what Mr. Cohen did, and it's a more serious crime than falsifying business records. It's obvious that across the media platform and spectrum today, there's a lot of concern. I didn't see it all today. There's a lot of concern that the prosecution's case was undermined by this testimony, even more so than it's been in the past. But I would say that two things can be true. He could be a liar and a thief on other matters, which it appears that he has lied, and if indeed he did this. I don't understand one of the other commentators who said it's a rebalancing of the bonus. I mean, what do you go into a grocery store and you get more things because you're trying to rebalance inflation? No, that's theft. And you'd be charged with and arrested and charged for it. But he can be lying about those things and be a thief, and also be what the jury's going to have to determine if they think he's telling the truth about other things. And as a judge knows, as a prosecutor, as a judge, when you can show that your star witness, the defense can show that the prosecution's star witness has lied on the stand and lies about other things, that certainly impacts adversely his credibility.
All right, you know, Jesse, he stole in lieu of a bonus. I mean, who hasn't? Right?
I stole your bonus last year.
I know you did.
And it was smaller than I thought.
I never hear that.
Never. It is funny that you've had a porn star
Jesse?
and a disbarred lawyer, and a guy who rolls his eyes is disrespecting the court.
Here we go.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.